Hi, I'm Dave. Welcome to the shop. Glad you could come. Working on a little postmodern toy box, kind of a late international style toy box. It's just a box for toys. It really isn't a toy box, but it's going to be used that way. So I got some beech, because I've got this idea that I want to make it out of beech, kind of mid-century modern, you know. And I picked up some beech, and actually, this is a curious thing. I sent the Kohai out. He was going to the lumber yard and picked me up a couple pieces of beech. He picked me up some just like honey. It's just beautiful pieces of beech. This is a board glued together. You can see a seam. And so I glued them up. And this is a great size. I'm going to chop these pieces up and do some plowing. I've got some bottoms, some midsections, a piece for a bottom, a piece for a midsection. I don't have the piece for a front yet or the drawer face, but I've got another piece of wood, so I'll get it out of that. But in the meantime, I'm going to do a quick sand on these and just get the surface prepped. They've been planed. They're good. As you assemble things, it gets harder and harder to get into the joints, into the ends. Once you make a box, getting the sanding smooth on the inside harder. So let's get some of that sanding done now while it's flat, and I'll try not to scuff it up too much, I promise. Anyway, let's get to that. I'm sort of fallen in love with these orbital sanders, random orbital, whatever. Now here's a little hint from your Uncle Dave. You're sanding things, you want to keep them from getting scratched. I got a piece of Homosote left over from something, and I got a couple. And they're paper. They're soft. They're paper. I typically don't leave grit in them or nails in them. They stay pretty clean. Doesn't need much. The planer does a terrific job. But it leaves a little thing called snipe. I don't know if you remember that, but there are a pair of rollers that hold a piece of wood up so it can roll across the bed. There are a pair of them. There's one blade that cuts in a pair of rollers, so just before it hits the other roller, it's on one roller in there, and it has a tendency to move. You can see that I've got a little bit of a mark right across there. And what I'm doing, that's part of what I'm doing with the sanding. It's just getting that little bit of snipe out. So maybe you'll see it. Actually, the snipe wasn't so bad on that one. It was a burn from getting stuck in the rollers. Anyway, so this is good. Get a little bit at this end. I'm good. Alright, so that takes care of this one. Move on, get the next piece. This cuts into the two sides. That's the back. That's great. This was 180 sandpaper. That's all that needs for right now. So that's good. I've removed most of the marks that the planer leaves in it, and hopefully I won't make a mess doing anything else. I think I'm going to do some labeling so I know which side is up, or my preferred side, and Then start chopping. Then start chopping. This is going to go down like that. So this is up, up. Like that. That'll be up and out. And this is out. And this will be up. Okay, that's great. So I've got all the marking that I need done. Good. Now, cut to length. I'm looking for 1'8" for finish. And on the sides, that'll be that. I'm going to do a butted joint. I'm not going to miter the corners. I'm going to butt the back into the sides and butt the front into the sides, leaving a seam. Kind of that intentional showing the construction. Like everybody knows what that means. I don't really, but that's what I'm going to say to anybody that asks. And this is 44. I need 20 and 20, so I got lots to play with. So that'll be my center right there, because I want 1'8". So I think I'll cut this in half and then measure those two halves and we'll have something. And I'm going to put a mark on this and cut one end of this right now also. Better. All right. Little chop saw. Be right back. Okay, so I've squared one end of each of these. I'll double check it with my square right now, but they seemed to be perfect. I like handwork probably more than anybody, but being able to dependably get something cut square and plumb, a nice hardwood like this with one pass, no effort whatsoever on my part, other than taking good care of the tool. Pretty nice. So I'm a believer. So now all I have to do is try to mark 20 twice, and you know, approximately the same. Huh, I can do that. That's the beautiful thing. Just for the hell of it, I'll double check this one too. You can tell when you run the square across it, and you can hear it. You can hear it tick. It means you're dead on. Been paying attention to the saw lately. Did a tune-up on it. It's very good. I like it a lot. So 20, and this here will also be 20. Now I put a square mark on there. I'm going to take it to the saw. This is sort of like, oh God, sort of like belt and suspenders. As I cut, I'll be looking at that mark, and it'll keep me from, you know, making a mistake, I think, or, you know, reduce the chance of making a mistake. It's always good to reduce the chance of making a mistake. End grain of these things is going to show because I'm going to butt into them. So I'm going to have to sand this a little bit also. But boy, they came out really well. Really, really well. I'm very pleased. All right, so those are those. Now my front panel I've also cut. It's funny, I didn't cut it on the line because it doesn't matter. I'm going to put this is going to go into, it's going to butt into one of these sides. Catch that? It's going to butt in like that. And we're going to let this I'm going to let this show. I'll even probably put a little teeny bit of a bevel on the mating surfaces so that there's an accentuated joint, butt joint. It'll be great. The construction of this, I'm going to put a kind of tongue on the end of this and kind of groove the length of this, a plow, the length of this. And this will slide into that, as that piece will also slide into. It'll slide into the other one. So how deep is that going to be? That's going to be 1/4 of an inch deep, that tongue. So if I want this to be 11 inches, 1 foot 1, 13 inches from here to there, then it's pretty simple math. Although, never do math on camera, because it doesn't pay. When you're wrong, it's like you don't have time to correct yourself. So, it'll be something. Be great. Now I'm thinking, before I cut that piece, because I'm going to do the tongues on either end of it, I should probably also get the piece prepared that's going to be on the front. And cut both of them at the same time, even though one's shorter. I think that makes sense. Drawer face doesn't matter at the moment, although I could cut it. That would be fine. That's what I should do. I should cut the piece of wood for the drawer face and the piece of wood that's going to make the front over the drawer face. And get those so that I can do the plow, that 1/4 inch tongue, all of that at the same time. So I guess for purposes of continuity, I'm going to cut these both to the 20 inch. That'll be done. And before I cut this one, I'll get that other piece. Let's go to the chop saw, chop these. Okay, down here at the chop saw. Don't mind the column that's in the way. Sometime between now and March, that will get repaired, put back on the house that it belongs on. What a world. Brilliant. Brilliant. All right, so you probably just caught on to this. My chop saw won't do 14 inches. So I have to flip it over and do the other bit. But I don't mind, because it's running so good and square and true that it's not an issue. That is so good. Right? So that goes in. Must be in line. Oh, that's just super, super. And I got some scrap. I don't know what I'll do with it. But for right now, I'm going to hang on to it. All right, so walk over here. All right, so here we are. Just cut those ends, and You know how it goes. Make some a little teeny splinter, not splinters, but there's an edge. There's an edge. And so I'm doing that. Remember I said I was going to probably detail this corner. A little bit of a bevel. When I say a little bit, I mean really small amount. But enough to accentuate it. So I know that it's going to show. So it makes sense to sand it. Put a little teeny bit of a bevel in it now, so that later I won't have a little splinter having chipped off and find myself lacking something. All right, so those are both cut. So I've marked this is the outside, out. This is the top. I don't have a right and left on it yet, but that will actually happen pretty soon. And now, put them next to each other and put my fingers down. These suckers are the same length. That's beautiful. All right, I'm going to set these aside, and even though I've got this ready, I think I'm going to wait and prepare the piece for that other piece for the front. Let's get that done. That was harder than it should have been. All right, 13. Going to be like 11.5 finish for the drawer opening. So if I cut a 13 and a 13, then I've got it made, and I can't run into any trouble, and that's good, because not running into trouble it's the way to do things. All right, so see what happens. Well, that was easy enough. Good. So playing this. All right. So this stuff came from a shop that sells a lot of stuff to the furniture trade. So while it was rough when I bought it, it was ripped parallel. You know, straight line ripped, and then ripped parallel. So it was pretty good condition. Stuff planed out real well. I mean, there's nothing about it that I don't like. Anyway, so I'm gonna bring this down to the 3/4 that I'm using for my nominal size. 3/4. So 1, 2. See what comes of that. All right. All right, so before I do anything else, the planer, these little marks from the circular nature of the cutter head, It also leaves little lines because the planer has a bunch of multiple little heads. It doesn't have one long knife that cuts across. It's got bunches of them all stacked up and slightly offset. And they sometimes make little lines. So, a little quick sand. I've got some 150 in here. And sand this so that it's, you know, that preliminary sand. Get rid of the artifact of the last machine that I used on it. Right? It's got some snipe down at the end here. I'm going to color that so I can see it. Shortboard snipe. Not bad. I mean, really not bad. But we'll keep our eye out for it. All right, here we go. That's great. Very good. Very, very good. Jeez, this stuff is... I've never used very much beech. I'm a house guy mostly. And so we use a lot of beech when we're building. And when we do start getting into the exotics, you know, it's cherry and mahogany and stuff like that. We don't do an awful lot of beech. Stuff wasn't expensive. It's just stunning. Stunning. Like cream cheese. It's great. And it's so hard. It takes a finish, and that's sanded. It's as smooth as most things that are varnished already. Anyway, that's great. I'm really pleased. So this will get cut in half, and one half will go on to be one of the top pieces, the face piece, and the other half will turn into a drawer front. It'll be great. This is 8-inch, as I recall, pretty thereabouts. 8 3/8, so that'll make a good upper part of the bin, and the lower part will be the drawer. Be cool. All right, I guess bust this in half, and probably ought to rip plane a straight edge on it first, and then bust it in half. And cut it and that to length. Let's do that. Let's rip it. Get a straight edge on it. Cool. That looks a little teeny bit domed. Someday I'll I'll get my big joiner running. It'll be great. I can't wait to that day. But for right now, that's pretty darn good. Okay. Run this through the saw and do a rip, so I'm parallel. Eight 3/8, so go 8 5/16. That should do it. 8 5/16 right around there. And it's an old worn tool. Measure both ends. Cuts down on disappointment. All right, this is the edge that I joined. And then we'll be ready to chop that piece off the end. All good. All good. All right. Over to the chop saw. And cut me a piece. Oh, right. That and that are going to be the same. Ooh, let's think. Let's think. 1 for 1. Is this really what I'm looking for, right? 1 for 1. 1 for 1. From there to there. 1 foot 1. Get this right. 13. All right. It's 13 less 1.5, which is 11 and a half. From there to there is 11 and 1/2. So the drawer face will be something just this side of 11 and a half. So it'll fit. And the pieces that I'm going to have go in between, I said I'm going to have 1/4 inch tongues on them, 1/4 inch long. So 11 and a half and 2/4 is 12. So I need this and this cut to 12 inch. That's easy enough. Let's go do that.